How's everybody doing tonight?
Better.
Better now? Okay. So my title is Biblical Teamwork and the Women of the Bible. Tonight I want to talk about some of the biblical women that y'all may or may not know much about. But all of these women of the Bible that I want to teach about in this lesson tonight, in their own way, help shape the future that we now know today by the decisions that they made throughout their lifetimes. All of their stories have been told and retold over and over again. With each retelling of their stories, I hope and I pray that we gain more wisdom and knowledge of what we should learn from each of them about how to live our lives more biblically, especially when it comes to the teamwork that we should have with each other, meaning men and women, because we tend to want to, fight with each other instead of work together.
Speak for yourself.
Huh? Speak for myself? Sometimes I do like to fight with him. It's fun. We're not going there, Linda. Alright, so with all that being said, let's take a look at our first biblical woman that y'all may or may not know her name and or her deeds. Her name is Dorcas, and I like her because of Brother Brad, but anyway, or aka Tabitha. She had both
in the Bible. Wow.
Her story takes place in Acts chapter 9, verses 36 through 42.
There was a believer in Joppa named Tabitha, which is Greek for Dorcas. She was always doing kind things for others and helping the poor. About this time, she became ill and died. Her body was washed for burial and laid in an upstairs room. But the believers had heard that Peter was nearby at Lydda. So they sent two men to beg him, "Please come as soon as possible." So Peter returned with them. And as soon as he arrived, they took him to the upstairs room. The room was filled with the widows who were weeping and showing him the coats and other clothes Dorcas had made for them. But Peter asked them all to leave the room. Then he knelt and prayed. Turning to the body, he said, "Get up, Tabitha." And she opened her eyes. When she saw Peter, she sat up. He gave her his hand and helped her up. Then he called in the widows and all the believers, and he presented her to them alive. The news spread through the whole town, and many believed in the Lord.
Yes. So it's clear from this set of scriptures that Dorcas was a disciple of our own Jesus Christ. She showed this well throughout her life by following Jesus' teachings, especially those about how to treat others. She made clothes for the widows and for the poor. She always did good and helped those in need around her. She showed compassion and love to all those who knew her for sure. But if I had to guess, I would say that she did the same for those that didn't know her as well. Then this set of scriptures says that Dorcas got sick and died. So two men were sent to urge Peter to come to her, but only after the widows prepared her for burial. That statement is important to my upcoming side note. So I will say it again. They sent for Peter only after they prepared her for burial. You're looking at me funny. Do you have something? Okay.
That's just how he looks.
It is not. Stop. This could be a whole lesson, a whole nother lesson. That's my West Memphis coming out. By itself. But I felt led while preparing this lesson tonight to mention it as a side note, at least for now. And that side note is that using this set of scriptures, we can very clearly see that the widows and some of her friends even didn't expect Peter to be able to do anything about her being dead. They didn't follow quite as closely to Jesus as Dorcas and the couple of believers that were there. If they did, they would have been expecting an outright, in-their-face miracle when they called upon Peter to come. But they didn't believe that she would live here on this earth, and that's if they even believed that she would live everlasting life in heaven with God because of her own belief in Jesus Christ. Because if they did, they would not have prepared her body for burial before they ever sent for Peter. Now, would they? Anybody? No?
You're right.
Seems to me that they just wanted him to preach a funeral and comfort them during their time of mourning. In fact, to me, that is proven when Peter comes to Dorcas' side. Peter did just as he had seen his master do, went right to work, and again, just like he had seen Jesus do, in at least one situation. I think there's two that I think you've preached on one of them, but I didn't find the actual scripture, so I didn't want to use it. But this one matches better anyway. So, that we see in the Bible, he had to make the unbelievers leave so that God could use him in the situation. So let's read Acts 9:40 again, and this time in the Amplified Version, please.
But Peter sent them all out of the room and knelt down and prayed. Then turning to the body, he said, Tabitha, arise. And she opened her eyes, and when she saw Peter, she sat up.
So now, if I'm not mistaken, Jesus had to do the same thing in Matthew 9:23 through 26. Let's read it to compare the two encounter. Who has Matthew 9:23 through 26?
When Jesus arrived at the official's home, he saw the noisy crowd and heard the funeral music. Get out, he told them. The girl isn't dead, she's only asleep. But the crowd laughed at him. After the crowd was put outside, however, Jesus went in and took the girl by the hand, and she stood up. The report of this miracle swept through the entire countryside.
They sound pretty similar to me. What do y'all think? I mean, both situations, the unbelievers had to leave the house before either of them could do the work God wanted done there. In both situations, the friends and or the family were not at all expecting the situation to change just because Jesus or Peter showed up. But the ones who did know that having Jesus or having a true Christ follower come into the situation changes everything, they were most likely the same ones who said, I need you to go get Jesus. I need you to go get Peter. Or I need you to go get somebody who can call on the name of Jesus and make this situation change for the better because of their faith in Jesus as who he is. So, guys and girls, that is the end of my side note.
That's a good sign, though. Interesting,
It
yeah.
was a whole, I know, it could have been a whole lesson.
Yeah.
At least for this biblical woman's story. Now back to what other things I think that we should get out of this set of scriptures and the story of Dorcas. In this story, we can also see how much someone who truly shows the love and compassion of Jesus Christ can affect the people around them. Remember, we've taught, I think all of us have, about being not a, how do you put it? Being a thermostat, not a thermometer. Because you want to make sure that you change the atmosphere. Because Christ in you should show no matter where you go, and it should change the atmosphere. That's what they were experiencing with these two situations, with Jesus' situation with the little girl, and then Peter's situation with Dorcas. Once they were there and the non-believers were gone, Jesus stepped in and took over. So, Throughout Dorcas's life, she took Jesus at his word and faithfully worked, showing people by her actions and her life who Jesus was in her own life and who he could be in their lives too. So not only did she, I don't think we give her enough credit for that. I don't think she just made clothes and gave to the poor and did for the widows and all that. She was also preaching and teaching. Whether she actually said the words or not, with her life she lived it. She absolutely lived it. So she didn't have to tell them, oh, I know who Jesus is. They saw it in her at all times. That goes to show too, in the scriptures where they're talking about how they're coming up to Peter with all the clothes that she made them and all the things that she done, and just crying and weeping over her being dead because they didn't have anybody else that would do those things for them. So it shows what kind of compassion and what kind of love she actually showed, and that would be the same that Jesus would show.
She's also a saint for the Catholic Church.
There you go.
Well,
Is she?
We're not going to say
She's a
that.
saint for the Catholic Church.
What do they call her, Dorcas or?
Tabitha.
They call her Tabitha, yeah.
Saint Tabitha on her. Yep.
never heard that.
Yeah, they got a lot of them though.
Yeah.
Not to mention who he wants to be in all of our lives as well. We should learn that from this story. When she is brought back to life, it is not for her own sake. Now don't get me wrong, I'm sure she was very happy about being brought back to life. Well, I don't know. It's kind of, I was in heaven and you took me out. Because she would have been there. Because absent from the body is present with the Lord. So she would have already been there, you know, because she was already gone. But, so I don't know if she would have liked to come back.
Who wants to
Just
die
like
twice?
Lazarus, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but either way, I don't think that it was for her own sake that she was brought back. We all know where she was going to spend eternity, even if she stayed dead on this earth. But for the glory of God and the multiplication of his kingdom, he brought her back. Because when she got brought back, that whole town went into an uproar and believed in Jesus. I mean, that literally changed that entire environment just by one miracle. And I think he still does that today. I really do. Because, I mean, with our pastor being completely healed from cancer,
Yes.
that has uproared our entire, at least all of our families and all of our friends, because we've told them and told them and told them all about how much God is doing and how he is still working miracles today.
Hey, fun side note, Emily, you can still visit the house she died in.
Who? Tabitha? Really? Where's it at?
In Tel Aviv. That's in Joppa.
But I mean, is that what they call it still? Jova?
Well, I don't know what it's called now, but the house she died in, you can still visit.
Oh,
Really.
that's cool. That is a fun side note.
It's Tel Aviv, Jaffa.
Jaffa. So Jaffa is the what?
It's Joppa, Jaffa.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
No, it's Jaffa in here, but it's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
All right. So that is interesting. I don't know who that was.
Who's that?
I don't know.
I don't know, they looked inside and turned and walked off.
JR's got it.
Bad boys, bad boys.
We also need to see through this story of Dorcas, a faithful disciple who helped others diligently, obediently, and who received the help of God when she was in her time of need. We need to understand that this too, through God,
I've been good all week. I think you guaranteed to choke.
we need to understand this too though. God is faithful to help us in our time of need, even when we are not always faithful to Him. That is His unquestionable mercy shown to us in those times like that. Don't ever forget that. That is like literally when he shows us his mercy, is when we are not doing what we're supposed to do and he still helps us. That's
That's when it shines the brightest though.
yeah, it is. It is.
Not for just you yourself, but people see what circumstances are and then see what happens to you, and then they see, you know what I mean? Because ain't what you go through is how you go through it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's who you give glory to too.
You know?
Because if you don't give him the glory, he's not gonna help you out again.
Another thing you said just opened my whole mind up, because I've always wondered, because it says multiple times in here, when Jesus would perform miracles or something like that, he could put everybody out.
Mhm.
And I've always wondered why. And it just clicked to me when you said that the believers, the non-believers were put out. Because,
Yes.
in some cases he let people stay,
Right.
and they were the believers. So
Right.
that made perfect sense, because if he would have did the miracles or whatever he did in front of the non-believers, it would have made them believe in him
Yes.
versus them hearing and then seeking him.
Yep.
As I just put you know
It was
what I mean?
like illuminated.
Because he's
with-
all about the fruit,
Yeah.
but how much does he think about it though to do it like that?
Yeah.
Because he was so peculiar in everything he did, to where he lived a life and did all these great things, but never once made somebody believe or made somebody follow him. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's always our choice of
He
that.
made sure he did everything to where we had to choose, and that's really amazing right there.
Yeah, it is really.
Between a leader and a dictator.
Yes, it is a difference between a leader and a
Or a
dictator.
tyrant. I mean,
Or a tyrant, yeah. I agree completely. Anybody else? Go once. Jay.
That was good.
it was.
That was good,
I
man.
mean, it really blew my mind over here, like really, because I've always wondered. And then when you made the remark about the unbelievers being put out, if you don't have a relationship with him, or you know what I mean, started to search for it, I guess that seemed kind of harsh. You know what I mean? When you get down to understanding what he was about and the love and like how much he cared, he cares so much he can't make you do anything.
Right.
That's a different level of care.
It is. And we won't understand that until he allows us to be there with him and he lets us know everything. And he may not even let us know then. You know,
Well,
we
he
just
still
might be
won't tell
okay
us.
with it.
The questions I'm going to ask are going to be out of this world.
You think that, but like I've thought about questions that I would ask too, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd ever actually even ask.
Oh, I'm definitely asking a couple silly questions.
Like who was behind the grassy knoll?
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
That
Chicken
that's
was
been
first.
scientifically proven.
Oh,
The
no.
chicken had to be first, right?
Well, so
there's
they
two
proven
on the
that the
boat.
protein that is used to
Two on
create
the boat?
the egg
Yeah.
only comes from chickens.
So yes, the
Yeah.
chicken had to be first.
Chicken had
Noah did save two of
Two
them.
of everything on the boat, so it had to be the chicken first.
Yeah.
Or did he bring the eggs and raise them up?
Never said nothing about eggs.
What would be the chance
Sorry,
of you
I'm
a male and a female?
They're homestead.
That's
He did
true.
take the two smallest ones to raise, and the rest of them he killed to feed.
That's true.
Well, in the end, when the times was happening like that, I imagine there wasn't much left, because it was kind of, no, seriously, like the world was in
Yeah.
shambles.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they was,
What you
There were
got?
a bunch of food.
You ain't got nothing?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
I thought you had something.
Oh, I just thought of exactly what you said. Yeah.
so he raised the
So he
smallest,
probably brought like 100 of them, and then
and the rest of them he had to get food for the family, the animals, everything.
Yeah.
Plus, did they do sacrifices
Children
then?
and all that.
Yeah, they
You
did
know,
do
if they did
sacrifices.
sacrifices.
yeah, because he built the
yeah.
place on the
They
thing.
didn't sacrifice chickens though.
No, they were eating them.
Yeah, wasn't enough fat.
No.
That's one of the best things you can eat.
I'm telling you.
I love it, man. I love
I'm sorry,
it.
y'all.
That's
You're
all
good.
right.
You're good. Okay.
Storm out, I feel bad.
Back on
Turn it
track.
off.
Back on track.
Storm's got a lot of editing to do now.
In Dorcas' story, we see the ripple effect of a life lived with faithfulness. Even though Dorcas's role is not tremendously active in the story, because she's either ill or dead for most of it, the way her community mourned her loss demonstrates the impact of her life had on those around her. She used her gifts that God gave her to bless those who encountered her. We all are called to bless others with the gifts we have been given too. That's why or that's what God gave us our gifts and our talents for, to use them to help others in need. Also, in this story, Peter uses his gifts as well and his calling by praying and lifting up a sick sister in faith, which is also biblical because that's what they got taught too, is that we were supposed to lay hands on each other, pray for each other, and we would get well.
Peter's the same one that couldn't heal that one person or get the demons out,
Yep.
and then Jesus told him he had no faith. Or little
Well,
faith.
and he said, but these
things call for extra things like fasting and
prayer.
meditation.
Yeah, so I mean, he hadn't had to fast at that point because Jesus wasn't dead and hadn't raised from the dead and went to the Father yet. So, Dorcas used her gifts by clothing the people around her. We may not be the resident seamstress or tailor, but God has given each of us gifts that will build up our communities and bless others, and that's exactly how He expects us to use them. Or, and we've learned this from some of Stormy's parables, or He will take them from us and give them to somebody who will use them as He said so. So, moving on to the next part, I want to talk about isn't easy. Y'all are probably going to be mad at me, but it's okay. Because I'm telling the truth, huh?
No, you go.
But,
I like this.
here we go.
Start out good.
Quiz question. I'm just seeing who's paying attention here. No, you can't answer.
Well, this is a good thing to start doing.
Quiz question. To start off with this next part of the lesson tonight, who here thinks that biblically women are equal to men? Raise your hand. Nobody? Can't believe I was expecting somebody to raise their hand. Okay.
We all read our Bibles.
Are you sure?
Ooh.
Or they just look around. Nobody else do it. I ain't doing
I
it.
think
Yeah.
women can do a lot of things that men can do,
Yeah.
if not better at times.
Well, that's true.
But
something.
we are, you know,
You are what
We're
makes
not
up
equal.
what the
We're
man
not.
does not have.
Do what?
You are what makes up what the man does not have.
I was about to say, I don't think neither
Where's the-
gender is
I think
much
we're
without
the
each other.
emotional-
Because
yeah.
you fill in the gap that the man doesn't have.
Right. And they are, and women are called the weaker vessel, and in this
I was gonna say, yeah.
world, people don't like to hear that. Like that football player that got up and talked about women at home,
It's
and
not so much
they
that
crucified
they're
him for
weak-minded or
something that was
anything.
right, you know?
The male body is made to work and labor and
Right.
provide, where the women is made to nurture, care and love.
And you know what you're saying, let me add a thought to
You're
that.
fine.
When Levi was born, now I think I'm pretty strong. We would walk around the mall over here when you could get in the mall, and we would have one of those things that you tote babies in, and we'd walk, and I'd get a quarter of the way around, I'm just huffing and puffing, I just couldn't
I
hardly
used to
make
do
it.
that.
She comes over and puts it on and does 3 to my 1.
But see, she does it all day long. She picks him up all day long.
She's built
Yeah.
that
Where
way.
you-
She's built for
You do
that.
other
I'm not.
things, like if
Yeah.
you were to turn around and take a tire and give her a tire,
Right.
She wouldn't be able to do that.
She knows
Yeah.
instinctively how to carry the
Right.
mass and,
Yeah.
you know,
Something else
adjust
that
her
I've
body.
noticed, like with me and her, she's built for more endurance stuff. She can
Right.
pick up a 10-pound bag of potatoes and walk forever with them.
Yeah.
But I'm the one that goes over there and picks up a 100-pound block.
Yeah.
She
Right.
can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's,
We also carried that baby for 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's not.
Kind of
Yeah,
part of a
Bill
master
is
plan,
just
huh?
Yeah.
Kind of seems like he made it that way to where when the baby did come out, the mother was used to all the.
The extra
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
if you notice how a woman figures out when they pick a child up, how do they pick them up? They pick them up a certain way and they put them in a certain spot.
Yep.
Immediately.
Yep.
It's not.
It's natural.
It's an instinct.
Right.
Yeah.
So the man picks it up and goes to a different spot.
Right.
So
And a woman can carry a baby in a diaper bag and a backpack
And the keys and
and
the
I don't
drinks.
care.
Not
Talking
Ian,
on
he
the
said Ian.
phone.
I heard Ian.
I know when his face went, huh? He said Ian, not Ian.
How many women are amazed though that men can go to the car for one grocery trip and get everything?
What?
Almost
And
everything.
what
I
happened?
get
How
almost
many women
everything.
are
Can
amazed?
y'all do that?
My
Oh, yeah,
wife,
I do that.
She gets everything?
I do.
Well, she different.
She just-
I do.
Well, listen,
Everything from a grocery
I'll
store.
start-
Look,
Not too bad.
my mama gets on to me all do that same
Jason will
thing.
come out.
I will grab everybody.
Oh, that's
Well,
amazing. It's more
Like
lazy.
things, or he'll tell me.
It is
I wanna go back out to the car.
It is lazy. I don't want to go back out to the car either.
So, but you said biblically.
Oh,
I know.
worse than this.
Just making sure I heard that.
Biblically.
No.
Biblically, yes.
Spiritual.
Okay, so let's get back to it. Let's see what everyone thinks after we read Genesis 2:18.
Are we still on Dorcas?
No,
No,
We're-
We left.
yeah. Dorcas was right before I moved on to this question.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
we're going to Genesis.
Yeah, we're going to Genesis
2:18.
2:18.
Then the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him."
Anybody change their mind? Of course y'all didn't, because y'all all had it right anyway. So,
Smart.
y'all smart, yeah. All right, so first thing that I want to ask everyone now, after reading the scripture together, is does anyone, and JR touched on it, know the definition of a helpmeet in Hebrew? What the Hebrew definition and wording, word phrase
Not
is?
right off.
To do the things I don't want to do.
The Hebrew translation and definition.
Yeah, there you go.
Look, this ain't Jeopardy.
It is Jeopardy. It's Bible Jeopardy. Okay, so the phrase translated as helpmeet comes from two Hebrew words, and I'm gonna mess them up, so you might want to say them. E-Z-E-R is the first one, Ezra, and then
Karanga?
Karanga, do or something is a do at the end. Anyway, Ezra means help, obviously, but in a distinct way. In English, a helper is sometimes thought of as someone in a low position, but Ezra describes strength. It suggests that that the individual has power to rescue others. It is used 22 or 21 times in the Old Testament, always describing a person with the capability, allowing one to help, protect, or aid. So I thought that was pretty weird
I like that.
because most women are not going to protect. Well, they'll
Well,
protect.
no, look at the animal
They'll protect their
kingdom.
kids.
Look at the animal kingdom, because even the wolves, the lions are the aggressive ones. The women are just
Yeah, that's
absolutely
true. In the
treacherous.
prize.
You mess with a male lion before you with a female. And then in
Yeah.
the wolf family, in the pride, when a male wolf fights another male wolf, the female always tucks up under his neck.
Oh.
Always tucks up under his neck.
And
Praying
women
mantis.
too, if,
That-
Praying mantis.
a woman too, if like a man, a husband, if their kid gets into something, it's just a learning process, but a woman will kill you over their kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mama bear.
they will,
Yeah.
And women
They,
will actually protect another child too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
Any kind of child.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly, you know, truth be known, probably most situations, if you seen a man abusing a woman at Walmart, it'd probably be a woman that would step in and try to stop
Oh, yeah.
that rather
Yeah.
than a
Or
man.
don't get help.
Yeah, just,
Every
yeah,
time.
Every time.
yeah. They're more apt to.
Yeah.
Women just have, there's something,
These solutions.
yeah, I mean, it's a strength that,
Yeah.
and anybody with a good woman knows that, you know, that there's just something about you women.
He's looking at
Yeah, there's just something about
You looked at
women.
him and he looked off to the sky like, I didn't see nothing.
Women can take more emotional issues too.
Some women
Yeah.
can, yeah. They're, y'all tough. I respect women, I do. I don't, and you know, I got a preaching wife, so that's, in religion, that's a fight right there, because so many people don't believe
Yeah.
in them, so, but I mean, we've had to fight that battle our lives, you know.
Right.
I don't even care what other people think, really, but
Right.
women are,
Well, and that's
y'all are just
why
amazing.
I wanted to do this too, because I mean, most people just think about, you know, oh, well, did good deeds or whatever, but there's other women that I may get to them tonight, I may get to them the next time, but there's other women that they were prophetesses, they were, you know, killers.
Yeah.
Speaking on that too, how many times has the Bible had to recap on one of the great women of the Bible because in other words, like the women were unshakable once they absolutely set their mind.
Except for the next one, but
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, like even when Jesus left, they went back fishing and everything and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it don't ever recap on the women.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get something about y'all's mind.
Yeah, most of the time when women have their mind made up, it's
Well,
it's
this
a done
generation
deal.
now, and I mean in the world we live in now, like it's all been it's like been put into, you know, because back in Tabitha's days, I bet all the women were tough. You know,
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't have none of the stuff that we got going on nowadays.
No.
The mental problems, you know what I mean, the chemical problems. You know what I mean, like all that stuff. It just they were like that.
They
Yeah.
probably had them, they just had to deal with them and move on anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too,
Because if they didn't go get the well water, who was? They
That's
didn't
true.
take care of it.
Well, I'm talking about even just the being born with like, you know, the
Chemical
mental problems. Yeah, the
imbalance.
chemical
Well, but that's
imbalance.
what I'm saying, even with mental problems, you can still work through them if you know that there's nobody else that can do what you're doing.
They had the same level of problems, just
They just had
their
more
type of problems, not our type of problems.
And everybody
Or else
now
the
saw,
Bible wouldn't
Well, this world's
work, right?
everybody now saw, man, woman, child, everybody's soft now. And that's,
yeah.
the society's softened everybody up, you know, they really have.
In America.
In
In America, yeah.
Yes.
Let's specify that.
In
Good point,
the
good point.
USA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Though its meaning is less definite, scholars agree that the second word, I'm not repeating it again because I don't know. You want to repeat it? Huh?
It's connecto. Is that it?
Connecto.
Oh.
Either connecto.
Yes. Means corresponding to and opposite to. It describes two things that are next to each other and complement each other, but different from each other, which JR touched on this a little bit too, like facing opposites. So putting these two terms together, we see that the Hebrew phrase suggests that God created Eve in counterpart to Adam, with the powers to serve him, but also to be able to correspond and complement him. So helpmeet is not a label of inferior. I can't say that word for nothing. Anyway, but an acknowledgement of strength. Now, I don't know if I'm going to have time. I might have time. Okay, I know I'm probably going to start a war with this question and the answer that I'm about to give y'all to this question. And I pray that y'all still love me.
Coming out swinging tonight.
When through teaching
Second time
tonight.
she's planned it. Let's go. Yeah.
So here it goes.
If she
When-
gets y'all riled up, you
She gotta
listen.
step on her toes every now and then,
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
So here it goes. Women, don't be mad at me when I say this, but biblically, we are not equal to a man.
Right.
Men, don't get arrogant because I said that. I need both the women and the men to hear me out. We were never made to be equal. Because if we were made to be equal, there would be no need for us
Right.
both.
That's right.
So, God made us to fit together because it takes us both. That's why the devil wants to take out the family. If he can take out the family unit, he's got everything.
Right.
And by splitting us up or making us think that we should be equal to each other or we should do the same things as each other is gonna split us up. So men and women together make up what God created. He said that the man was not complete without the woman. So because we do complement men and men complement us, right? So, but why? You may be asking yourself. Because we are meant to complement each other. It says it right there in the Hebrew definition of the phrase, help me, that I read to y'all just a few minutes ago. Our differences make us better suited for our already planned out role that God has prepared each of us for. But even each of these biblical women that I want us to learn about played different roles. Some of them seemed normal for a woman of biblical times, and others filled me with wonder and amazement of what these seemingly normal, everyday women were capable of if the opportunity arose. Just don't let your role in God's plan make you arrogant, because He can take it all away from you just as quickly as He gave it to you if you let pride eat you alive, like our next biblical woman tonight. And it's sad that it's her, but Miriam. So for her story, we'll start in Exodus chapter 2, 1 through 10.
About this time, a man and a woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. The baby's sisters then stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. Soon Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This must be one of the Hebrew children," she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess. "Should I go find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" she asked. "Yes, do." The princess replied. So the girl went and called the baby's mother. "Take this baby and nurse him for me." The princess told the baby's mother, "I will pay you for your help." So the woman took her baby home and nursed it. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. The princess named him Moses, for she explained, "I lifted him out of the water."
So Miriam played a very great role in where Moses ended up. And it's funny to me, I just got it pointed out to me as JR was reading, that Pharaoh's daughter knew that it was one of the Hebrew children, but she didn't care. And that goes back to what you were saying. We will go and fight for kids when, nobody else will. It doesn't matter. And JR was saying that it doesn't matter what, if the kid is yours or not. She did what she was supposed to do and went above and beyond to make sure that her brother was safe. And then we go to Exodus chapter 15, verses 19 through 21.
For when the horses of Pharaoh with his chariots and his horsemen went into the sea, the Lord brought back the waters of the sea upon them. The people of Israel walked on dry ground in the midst of the sea. Then Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines and dancing. And Miriam sang to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea."
So Miriam again has now been upped a little bit. God has given her the title of prophetess. So she's doing pretty good. I mean, she's in line with the Word of God. She's working her way into a steady relationship with God, right? Because you can't be a prophetess without having that lifeline to Him. So she's doing very, very well for herself. And then we'll read Numbers chapter 12, the whole chapter, please.
While they were at Hazeroth, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because he had married a Cushite
Ethiopian woman is what I have.
woman. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he spoken through us too?" But the Lord heard them. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on earth. So immediately the Lord called to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam and said, "Go out to the tabernacle, all three of you." So the three of them went to descended in the pillar of a cloud and stood at the entrance of the tabernacle. Aaron and Miriam he called, and they stepped forward. And the Lord said to them, now listen to what I say. If there were prophets among you, I, Lord, would reveal myself in visions. I would speak to them in dreams, but not with my servant Moses. Of all my house, he is the one I trust. I speak to him face to face, clearly and not in riddles. He sees the Lord as he is. So why were you not afraid to criticize my servant Moses? The Lord was very angry with them, and he departed. As the cloud moved from above the tabernacle, there stood Miriam, her skin as white as snow from leprosy. When Aaron saw what had happened, he cried out to Moses, "Oh, my master, please don't punish us for the sin we have so foolishly committed. Don't let her be like a stillborn baby.
Stubborn baby works.
Technically something. Already decayed at birth. So Moses cried out to the Lord, "Oh God, I beg you, please heal her." But the Lord said to Moses, "If her father had done nothing more than spit in her face, wouldn't she be defiled for 7 days? So keep her outside the camp for 7 days, and after that she may be accepted back." So Miriam was kept outside the camp for 7 days, and the people waited until she was brought back before they traveled again. Then they left Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran.
So I wanted y'all to read that because I wanted y'all to see how quickly our pride in what God is using us to do can make us fall. She was used by God at least twice through the whole book of Exodus. But 2 books later, God had punished her for pride about being used by him. And I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'll start on Deborah the next time.
Do you want these back?
No, I'll just rewrite them. But I just want y'all to realize that just because you're being used by God doesn't mean you have to be prideful about it, because he can use a rock or boast. Yeah. Because he can use a rock, he can use a donkey, he can use whatever he wants to use. He chooses to use those. And the more humble, like he said about Moses, Moses was the most humble person he knew. The more humble you are, the more he's going to use you. But if that humbleness leaves you and it starts to be prideful, he's going to drop you, just like he did with Miriam. She had leprosy only for 7 days, but...
There's also a jealousy issue there, right? Because
Yes.
he'd done enough for her, and she was like, "Wait, why can't we get what he's getting?"
Yes.
Yeah, so
That's true too. Yeah, jealousy.
pride, jealousy, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all tied together.
But that's all I got